All right, everybody, mind your manners moving forward. We are recording. Let's jump into how to find and how to get started with expired and off-market searches. So, how is important, but first, the why. Why would somebody want to jump into expired and off-market searches? Some people would say if you feel like you're clinically insane to start doing this, but we say better reasons. To serve the needs of homeowners, to create income and secure new listings, to create relationships, to educate sellers about the market, to practice communication, to cross-market our properties, and to better understand the inventory and market. So those are a lot of reasons, right? So chunking them down to serve the needs of homeowners. Everything that we do is to serve our clients, right? So either homeowners or buyers, in this case, homeowners, because they are expired listings. To create income and secure new listings. In this market, like we know, listings are and have always been king, right? So if listings is a part of your goals and your rocks for the quarter, definitely consider taking up expireds. It takes everybody knows, that expireds isn't the easiest thing to do, but it is a very real lead gen lever
Ah,
that we should
okay.
be considering. To create relationships. At the very least, it's a way to create relationships. Some of these people that you're meeting with, it might not turn into an immediate new listing, but you're setting yourself up to build your business, to increase your sphere of influence, and to get new people in there that you could be reaching out to. Kind of tying back to last week, 36 touch, 12 direct. For expireds, they would be on something a little bit like that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the presentation. To educate sellers about the market. Again, very least, you're going to be educating people, and that's huge, right? That's the value point that we could bring when we're talking to these expires for the first time. You're educating them about the market and the reasons why they might have not sold their first or second or third time around. To practice communication, sellers are a great way to practice your scripts. Sorry, expires are a great way to practice your scripts, to practice rejection, to practice the ins and outs and best practices of this business. To cross market our property. So that kind of goes into what your script is going to say, right? So if you have a buyer or if you have a listing that's nearby, talking to the expired listings around that area, whether it be on the buy side and you're trying to look for an expire that potentially will be able to sell for your client, or if you have a listing in the area and you want to really grow that farm, talking to expireds and letting them know, hey, I have this other listing that is in your area that I'm doing great on, right? We have so much traffic and I probably have more buyers I can bring over to you. So this person is selling, they have to go somewhere. So they might be interested in buying. Maybe it's a downsize, maybe it's a right sizing situation. And to better understand the inventory and market. So being in there, being understanding what the expireds look like and the off market looks like in any area is such a great way to gain invaluable knowledge about the market for when you're talking to any of your clients, regardless if they are an expired, a buyer, or a seller.
And one thing that we didn't have on there that either fell off or we didn't need to have it on last time because it wasn't such a need, but to secure buyers properties for our buyers. Obviously, buyers is a reason to go for expireds, to find inventory for buyers in such a low inventory market. So it's a great reason to call expireds, is to find properties for our existing buyers.
Absolutely, I completely agree. All right, so getting started. When you are working with expires, what should you expect? You should expect to increase your income, which is amazing, to work really hard. Everybody says that expires are one of the hardest lead generation levers to really engage in. And they're right. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but as long as you are persistent and consistent, which brings me to the next one, to learn persistence to makes money, you're going to see the result. Everything in this business, regardless of the lead generation lever, the type of lead gen, if it's an internet lead, if it's your sphere of influence, anything that you're doing in this business, as much as you put into it, you're going to get it out. You should expect to be frustrated at times, especially when finding sellers' information. Half the battle is finding their information, right? And we have tools that are able to help you do that. Obviously, you start on the MLS, you look at the property history, you see if they are back in the market or anything like that. That's the easy part, right? And then you have to go find their information. So it could be going to Spokio and looking for their information. It could be doing some Google searches or going to white pages. We're in 2024. There's a way to find people's information, and we have Spokio, so that doesn't cost anybody anything. It's completely free. But if you want to increase your chances and get involved in like a white page pro account, you could do that as well. But there's going to be frustration and time that you're going to put into that, in just finding this information and really getting yourself going. Um, you should expect to be held accountable. So that's twofold. One, if you tell me that you're going to do expireds, I'm going to be so excited about that. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to follow up with you about it. So I'm going to hold you accountable and make sure that if you're really utilizing this as a lead gen lever, that you are really going after it. And then also accountable on your end, because again, as much as you put into it, you're gonna get out to it. So if you're talking to clients and you are promising them things, if you don't follow up on that promise, if you don't provide them the monthly update or the information that you said you would, you're gonna be held accountable by not seeing that happen, right? You're not gonna see the conversion there. You should expect to improve your knowledge and confidence. This one is a huge one. And I think getting started with expired, this is one that you guys should really take into consideration as such a benefit of working with expireds, to improve your knowledge and confidence. Every phone call you make, you're going to learn one thing that you did that time that you either want to keep doing again or you never want to do again, right? Test out different scripts, test out different openings, see what works best for you and where you get the best results. Is it the way that you ended your voicemail? Is it the way that you started the conversation? Is it the email that you sent to follow up with? All of those things are going to improve your knowledge, because it's going to give you best practices on what works to see a conversion. And then also your confidence, because with every single conversation you have, you're going to be able to increase your repertoire and understand more how to connect with these expireds. And to thicken your skin, because there's going to be plenty of times where people are going to be like, I told you not to call. And you're like, I never even called you. I don't even know what your name is. Did I reach the right person? And it's going to be, it's going to be a journey, but it's going to help you at the end. It's going to, I think thickening your skin is all about really the confidence. It goes hand in hand. So I think this is a wonderful lead gen opportunity. Attitude is imperative. If you are not excited about this, don't do it. So during goals, a few of you have mentioned that, and I always mention that I adopt Floria's stories and Julie's stories, but Floria is not someone who is going to do expired. She's just not interested, right? She doesn't like it. She doesn't want to do it. And that's fine. It's completely fine. Nobody's saying that you should absolutely do expireds, or if you don't do expireds, your business is going to fail. It's nothing like that at all. It's more so that if you really feel strongly about doing expireds, then 100% dive right in, because there is so much business to create and so much business to have. But you should really be excited going into it and look at it either as a challenge, something exciting, something that you're going to put as a goal for yourself, because you want to see how much you can push yourself and increase your knowledge, increase your confidence. Go into it excited and smile when you call. It makes a difference. If you have a monotone, a like blah, boring voice, you're not going to see anything. Imagine if somebody called you on the phone and they're like, hi, I just saw that you put your house on the market and it was at 120. I would hang up. That's so ridiculous. You want to be excited, you want to be happy, you want to be smiling, because people are going to feel that on the other line. Putting yourself in their situation, they wanted to sell their house for whatever reason, whether it be financial reasons or that they want to get out of there, or there's a need, they're relocating. There's some reason why that they're wanting to sell, and they spend 2, 3, 4, 6 months waiting for something to happen that never happened. They're pissed. They are like, why is this not happening? And especially in the market that we're in, I have to imagine their realtor has told them, oh yeah, everything flies. And this is such a great market right now because you go on at one price and you get over the asking price. And I'm going to do this marketing and I'm going to do that marketing. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to tell my whole office and we're going to do blah, blah, blah. And then nothing happens. That's the worst thing that can happen. So not only are you trying to create a connection, but you're overcoming so many obstacles that you didn't even put there, right? And you're not even sure of. It could be one thing that you said that just triggers them to infinity, because that was that one thing that their last broker promised. So it's a minefield, but you have to stay consistent and you have to be positive and take in whatever they're saying. So bring us to our last point. Choose words and tones carefully. They can hear it in your voice. So that goes to, right, what I was just mentioning. There might have been something that the last realtor said that they can't get out of their head because they told them that it was going to be so easy, or that there was this pseudo buyer, or maybe their deal fell through and then after that they couldn't get anybody else. You want to make sure you're going in there strategically and not just throwing anything at the wall, right? When we talked in the beginning about best practices and increasing your skill set, you want to go in there with the strategy. You just don't want to throw anything, right? So there's so many things that we've provided on Follow Boss and in Whale. When we have call nights, we talk about Inspired a lot. So there's so many things that you can go in there with at least a baseline and then kind of customize it to make your own. Everybody feel good so far? This has been a lot about mindset and just getting started. All righty. Must-haves before you call. So this is going into kind of the technical stuff, right? So first thing you want to do, you want to pull up the address on the MLS. You want to see who was the previous agent, not a Higgins agent, right? We love going for things that are in the same brokerage or on the same team. But you want to see who the previous agent was. Maybe you know them. Maybe you know how terrible they are. And you know the reason why they didn't get the house sold. Make sure it's not active or a rental. If it is a rental, see the dates. So when you go to the MLS, either on the old one, which I hope everybody is not using, and the new one, and you go to the listing and then you click property and listing history, you're going to see something that looks like this. And what you want to see is that the first one says status expired. If it says status active, status closed, status withdrawn, those are not expired listings. Those are ones that either closed, obviously, or if it's withdrawn, it does not mean that the person's listing agreement has expired. All it means is that it's been withdrawn from the market. You always want to look for ones that say status expired. And then you also want to look down here, right? You want to see, when did it come on? How much did it come on for? Did they do any price drops? How long was it on the market? Was it a short listing? Does it look like it might come back on? Are they trying to take it off for a few days and then put it back on with the price drop? You want to see how much you can glean from what's provided there. So you want to check by going to additional info and listing and property history. Next thing you want to do is you want to look at the tax records. So that can be found on the MLS as well. Same way, right under listing and property history, you're going to see tax records. So you always want to look there so that you can get the client's information, the client's name. Maybe it's in an LLC and you have to do some further digging, but tax records is the best place to go to next. Val, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, you also want to make sure that it's not listed by an agent previously, because that can be embarrassing if you're calling an agent trying to get a listing.
Say that one more time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You want to make sure as well that it's not listed by an agent. It's not an agent owner, or it doesn't say that they're related in any way, because that can be embarrassing.
Yes, absolutely, completely agree. Yeah, you want to make sure that the owner is not also the agent is not also the owner as well, because yeah, that's going to be when you got a nice slam in your face hang up.
And that should be right in the remarks. If it's not on the public remarks, it would be in the agent remarks, and it would just say agent owner. So great point, Val.
So after after the tax records, you want to do a mini CMA. So you want to pull active, sold, in contract properties, about in a 2 mile radius from the house, depending on where you are. Maybe you have to do a little bit smaller, just to understand what's going on in the neighborhood, right? When you're talking to the owner, the last thing you want to do is not be informed. That's why you're doing all these must-haves before you call, so you can put your best foot forward. You want to look at the grounds, you want to look at the square footage, the pictures, and the properties nearby. So that's all, again, kind of information building so that you can talk about the property more specifically, right? Maybe you've been to the property before and you can talk to it authentically and personally by your own experience. Maybe you think somebody else in the office has been there or submitted an offer, XYZ things. Trying to gather as much information as possible, both about the quality of the home through the pictures, and then stats from the mini CMA, the square footage, the property history. You want to gather all that so that when we're talking to the seller, you can speak to it from a place of being informed. So after you have all that information, next step.
I'm gonna say one thing real quick, because the the CMA, doing the little mini CMA prior to calling, is a time-consuming task. So making sure you have all the phone numbers, and if you're not doing the whole mini CMA, that's why it's really important, in my opinion, to start with where like your farm area, which is what you want to do anyway. So you're more familiar with the area and you'll already know some of these things. But I think you'll get discouraged if you're trying to do a little mini CMA for every single one that you call before you call, because some of them won't be the right number, and I don't want you to experience burnout. So if it's a big one and it's one you really, really want, definitely do the CMA before. If you're calling a bunch every day, like just kind of get to know that area and pull up the comps while you're calling. But just be aware that the mini CMA takes a little while, and you're gonna probably not do it for every single phone call, but you have to be familiar with it. So I think you get what I'm saying. So we can move on.
Absolutely. So next, after that, would be the homeowner's information, number, and email. So there's a few places that you can look. You can look on Spokeo, which we all have the account access for. If anybody needs, you could always reach out and ask. There's HomeSnap, Fast People Search, True People Search, and then there's also White Pages and White Pages Pro. All of those are resources to try to gather the homeowner's information, number, and email. Sometimes you'll get 6 phone numbers and 2 different emails. It's worth trying all of them.
And I pay for Spokeo, but if anybody has one that they like better, let me know. Spokeo is getting more and more expensive, and if it's not as good as some others, I'd rather swap and pay for something else. So we're looking into other options, but we'll keep moving.
Yeah, there's also Property Shark as well. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of that one too, but that one will pull information about the property as well, along with the contact information too.
Excuse me, I use Truth Finder, and good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look into that as well then, as a team thing.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
I haven't used
Spokeo?
I haven't needed to use the phone numbers before, but a free way to find out who owns the property is voter records, Connecticut voter records. And that lists everybody who's listed like by street. So you can look up the whole street that way, and then you get a good name.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's good for doing mailers.
Yeah, voter records. That's actually a great way if you're mailing a specific area, getting the names from the voter record. That's awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline. All right. So after you have the information, just something to keep in mind. Having a computer or iPad whenever possible to take notes and be able to search while speaking with the owner is a great next level step, right? So being stationed, not really like on a drive or with just your phone, because if you really need to access the MLS, we all know how difficult it is to use the MLS on your phone, but being either in the office or at your home office or just a quiet space where you can really focus and pay attention to the conversation, be able to search and find everything that you need. Like Julie mentioned earlier, maybe for every single property, you're not going to be able to do the mini CMA up front. But if you get somebody on the line and things are going well, the last thing that you want to do is say, oh, I'll call you back once I find out some more information. You want to be able to do it on the fly right there. So if you have your computer or an iPad available for you, so you could really kind of download quickly and find all that information, is perfect. Everybody feel good about this so far? All right. Build confidence before you call. So what are ways to build confidence, and what should you be doing to start your expireds? First thing you want to do, practice. Role play with your accountability partner, family, or in the car. Practicing and scripting something that's really important. And I think that we don't talk about it a lot, and I actually want to talk about it a little bit more come this next quarter. But scripting with each other is such a great way to build your confidence and also get to the point of best practices, right? You all have such different experiences when talking to people because you work in different areas, you focus on different sort of leads, you have different spheres of influence and people that you're always interacting with. So the best way to kind of build your confidence and get to a point of being experienced and increase your skill level is through practice with one another. If it's 15 minutes once a week, 15 minutes a day with each other, you make a quick call to your accountability partner or somebody on the team and just go back and forth, right? And just literally just let it rip, right? And one day or 1 week could be about expireds. The next week could be about open houses. The week after that could be about marketing presentations and talking about the exclusive and how that is. Scripting and role-playing anything with each other is such a great way to increase your skill level. Search Google by street is easiest. Thank you, Jacqueline. Prepare. So review the property details, review market activity. It's what we've been talking about this whole time. Make sure you prep in advance. At least have you need to have their name to find their number to be able to call. So that's really the bare minimum. And then if it's a big one, like Julie said, and you really want to go for it, it's in your area. You might have a buyer for it even. It could be a slam dunk property. Review the market activity and get that CMA done. Make some calls. Best way to get confidence is to do some. So just get out there too, right? Don't stop yourself from starting because you feel like you're not ready yet, right? And let me put not ready in context. If you are a brand new agent and you're starting to get your business, starting expired is a really difficult thing to get into. Maybe if you're a newer agent and you want to get started, team up with somebody so you guys can do it together and you guys can work on the follow-up together and things like that. But if you feel like you've been really wanting to do expireds for a really long time and you're excited about it and you're passionate about it and you want to see your business be more listing heavy, just do it. The last thing that you want to do is stop yourself because you don't feel confident enough to get started. There is, okay, good. Be yourself.
I just want to say one thing here, and I know we're covering a lot, and just the mindset part of it. Like, the reason that I think I'm successful when I do this is because I so believe in the value that we offer. When it's like, why are you doing this? Because you really truly believe that we're going to do a better job, and just keep that in your mind. Like, that's your why, really, because when you're confident in something, it doesn't have to be even in yourself, in the ability to do expireds. Make it the confidence that our team has to get that property sold with all the resources we have. So I'm not, I know, the term fake it till you make it. part of me likes that, part of me doesn't, but that's that saying, because you don't want to fake anything, but what you won't have to fake is the confidence in the team. So if you don't have the confidence in your own like sales ability to make these calls, have confidence in the fact that we've sold more homes than any other team, that we have an amazing support staff, that we do more than anybody else, that we care more than anybody else, and have confidence in that fact. And I think that will help not only motivate you, but have you speak with more confidence in general. And as we've always said, confidence is like one of the #1 ingredients in anyone who's successful. So confidence in the team is a big one. And I know you guys have that because we've got the best leadership team in the universe, and Mark support staff. So thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Marco, beg your pardon, Mariano, do we go on to talk about objection handling? Because that was one of my questions, what Julie was just talking about.
Yeah, we're going to go into, we'll keep going, moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
So 4 scenarios, right? When you are going into your calls. So with all these scenarios, you want to first introduce yourself. You want to ask for their time. You want to determine different differentiators, use buzzwords, and be enthusiastic.
So I want to say something about this. Make sure you always say who you are before you ask for them. Whenever you make a phone call. Like, I know it's, oh, is Mr. Smith there, please? And they'll always say, may I ask who's calling? You never want them to have to ask that. So it's just, hi, this is Julie Vanderbloot calling. I'm looking for Mr. Smith, or is Mr. Smith available, or whatever it is, but always introduce yourself first. I've heard people doing this and they forget. It's easy to forget because you're just asking for the person. And always say, do you have a few minutes? Do you have a few minutes now? Or would you like me to call you back? Or whatever. Don't just, there's nothing more frustrating when someone's making a sales call and they just dive right into their sales pitch without any concern. And the determined differentiators is when you have it up on the screen, when you're looking at the properties, even if you've got a stack of expireds, you pull that property up always on the screen and you look at the property really quickly and you're like, okay, this one has a walkout lower level, or this one has something about their property. So it's about them and not you. So that you're saying, oh, well, the fact that you're on a cul-de-sac, or something that you can say about their home that makes them feel that you're not just calling expireds and trying to get listings. You want to make it about them. And buzzwords we can talk about later, and again, be enthusiastic, but the differentiators is a big one. So, okay, keep going.
Absolutely. So that's how you start, right? These are, that first one is with all these scenarios. So now we're going to go into the 4 reasons why you would be calling expired. So the first one is have a buyer fitting expired criteria. There's property expired a while ago. If it went back, I would say 6 months plus. Property expired today, or you want to be proactive and you're strategizing for your needs. So let's get into the first one. Actually, before we do that though, I just want to make sure, okay, we're good here. And then one other thing, because I don't know if I saw a chat. Nope, we're good. Okay. All right.
And keep in mind, with the have a buyer fitting expired criteria, one thing that we didn't put in there that we can put in as a bullet point is if you have a listing in that area, so that you can explain that you can cross market the property, that you've got so much interest in the new listing coming soon, or you already have so much listing in the property in their neighborhood through our matchmaking program. Oh, what's a matchmaking program? Oh, well, this, so that you can say we have properties in that area that will cause other buyers to have fear of loss because they're going to miss out. There's going to be more than one offer on our property. So that's going to be an influx of buyers that we can cross market. And even if you don't want to go live, we can bring you buyers direct. So even if you want them to go live and you're not even planning, you have to take baby steps and get them to trust you because they've already feeling burned by another agent. So even if it's, especially when I think the best thing is when we have properties in that area, because that's a really powerful story. It's a true story. And they're so sick of people saying, oh, I have a buyer. That's why I really think if you have a listing targeting that area is, listen, with the inventory so low, we're getting so many people. I'm looking for buyers. I'm looking for properties for some of the buyers that came to my open house. And some of them are represented by my team. Some are represented by other agents, but I'd love to be able to talk about your property? Can I come see it? Or can I, whatever, and then we'll get into scenarios when they say, well, why didn't you see it before, or all that, but keep that in mind when you get a new listing, search the expireds right away.
Absolutely. So that pretty much covers have a buyer fitting expired criteria, right? Because even if it's not your buyer, you have a team of buyers, we have a team of 35 people who we absolutely know one person will definitely have somebody who's looking for your type of home. And then near one of our listings, right? So near one of our current listings or similar to a current listing that just binder. So again, just like Julie mentioned, if there is if you have a listing in the area, you absolutely want to utilize that and be able to talk honestly and authentically about that. So going in with having a buyer fitting the expired criteria is a great scenario to start with. Next would be property expired a while ago. So now, first thing you want to do is you want to acknowledge the status time, whether weeks, months, or years, right? So this would be something that I would say 3 months plus, 6 months plus, something like that. So you want to first get up front and realize that, it's been a while, right? Maybe there's a reason why that you can kind of get from them as to why they waited so long. Why it's been so long that they haven't come back on the market. Did something change in their life? Are they not interested in selling anymore? Have they been burned so badly that they're not ready for it? You want to be prepared with area and market information. So for this type of person, since it's been so long, they might not know what's going on right now. They might think that they're still in the last market they were previously in. So you need to be able to educate them about what's going on right now and why now is the best time for them to sell in comparison to when they last were. You want to have the CMA up on your screen. So for this particular person, because again, they've been away from the market for a while, you want to be able to authentically and accurately speak to what's going on and why their property, whether maybe it was a number issue, right? You don't want to go into too much about that. It might be a hot button topic, but you want to at least tell them something that you can give them, determine the differentiator as you're talking about it. Tell your story and create the relationship. So they don't know you, right? They don't know the reason why you're calling. So this can kind of be a segue from the first scenario, which you have a buyer fitting the expired criteria. However, right, so that's your story. You have a listing in the area. You had such a great listing. It went 100,000 over the asking price, but you're the only listing in the area that is like this. And from all of your open houses, you have 5 buyer clients that are still looking to be in this specific area, right? And their house, it was expired 6 months ago, but it's the perfect house that it's a perfect comp, maybe a few differences, right? But it really can work for the buyers that you have. That's your story, and that's how you create the relationship. So they know that you're authentically going to them with a solution and not just a way to get your foot into the door.
There are scripts that we can, I think we have some with us that might need to be changed, but I wanted to add that one bullet point is let them tell their story also. Like ask them, has anybody told you why your property hasn't sold? And let them talk, like really hear them, because the only time people listen is when they feel heard. So definitely get them talking if possible. And so I usually would say, are you still looking to sell? I know it's been, and I don't say, well, it's been 6 months since you sold. I might say, I'll know it's 6 months, but I'll say, I know it's been a while since you were, since you had your property on the market. Are you still interested in selling if you had the right price? And then just be quiet and let them talk. Well, I'm not listing my house. No, I understand. And it sounds like you didn't have the greatest experience. Is that correct? Well, my client that you all promised me the world. And then, I get a million calls. I totally understand. And that's why I actually rarely call expireds, because I know the feelings that the sellers will have. But I am so passionate about this area. And I just feel that when I look at your past listing, I feel we could do such a better job. I couldn't help myself in calling because I believe our team believes in increasing values of areas. And this is the best market to do just that. You've got an incredible market right now. You just need someone who knows a strategic approach to get you the most money. And I'd love to just share what we do. Just 15 minutes of your time to show you, no pressure, just so that when you are ready, you have options. Because there's a lot of agents that don't do it right. There are a few agents that do, and I think if you hear what we have to share, you'll consider us for when you go on next time.
Absolutely, I agree. Awesome. So that is property expired a while ago. Any questions before we move on to property expired today? Once, twice sold. All right. So property expired today. First thing you want to do, you want to acknowledge the recent change with date, right? So you want to get ahead of it. You want to warn them, right? Because if you're calling and they expire today, you can imagine there's going to be 12 other agents that are calling at the exact same time. So you want to warn the sellers that other agents will be calling, and many just do this regularly. To what the point that Julie just made, I've heard from tons of you already, and everybody says the same thing. Exactly, I completely understand where you're coming from. I don't honestly do this often. The reason why I'm doing this is because of XYZ reasons. You're going to be authentic. You're going to have a reason to actually call them, whether it be because this is your niche, because you have a buyer, because you have a listing in the area, because you live in the area and you really know it and you're really involved in the community. You always want to give them a reason. You want to tell your story and then give them the opportunity to tell theirs as well.
When I do an expired today, I do usually say, I wish I could have called you sooner, but I cannot what's the word I'm looking for? Interject, but interfere. I can't interfere with agency, and you were represented. And now that you're not represented, I can at least share with you the enthusiasm I have about your property and how I truly believe we can market it at a higher level and get you the numbers that you're looking for. And again, it's 15 minutes of your time. Just want to share with you some of the details we do that would differentiate your property to really make you stand out. Well, why didn't you sell it before? Well, and we'll get into scripts, but that's a big one. And why didn't you sell it before? Because it depends, because I didn't have a buyer for it specifically before, but I look for buyers for my properties. And I show buyers other properties, obviously, but I proactively go after buyers for my own properties. So if you were my property, I'd absolutely be finding buyers. If you were my client, I would absolutely be finding clients for you. What's more important is, why didn't all the other realtors have buyers for your property? Was it the marketing? And well, they said it was price. Well, price is not why properties doesn't sell. Marketing is why properties don't sell. And price is absolutely part of marketing, but marketing is the number one reason. So I'd love to just share with you how our marketing will find you the right buyer paying the right price or whatever. But practice those scenarios of when they ask you questions like that, like go role play.
Absolutely.
But that's between the today and the older one, is that I couldn't call you because I couldn't interfere with agency, but I'm so enthusiastic about, in this market, your property should sell. And I truly believe I can get it sold for you. Very confident. I truly believe I can get it sold for you, and I couldn't call you earlier. So I'd love just a few minutes of your time. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. And our last scenario is you're being proactive, right? You're strategizing for your needs. So this goes into farming, micro farming. We talked a lot about this in goals. Picking an area that you really know, right? You don't want to just pick a random area that you don't have any connections to or you're not knowledgeable about. You want to pick, maybe you had 2 listings and a buyer in this particular area, and you're really digging into that area and you have something that you can authentically talk about. You want to be proactive and strategize for your niche. That's becoming your niche. So mailers, always an important thing to do when you have your just listed, just sold mailers. Kelsey did a mailer for Oxford when her and Mariana sold the house about the percentage over asking price they got. things like that are not just sold, just listed, creative things that you could be sending to the area so that they are reminded of you, not just when you have a listing, but you're providing value to that area. You want to see the inventory, right? So getting on the phone with Inspired and asking for a preview of the property with long periods of 175 days, 250 day. That's a great way to get in the door and let them know, like, hey, I actually might have somebody. I know that you're off the market right now. I know that you might not.
Well, I'm going to interrupt for 1 second because this is being proactive for properties. When I say see the inventory, preview properties with long periods of time. So you're actually also going to go to active properties, and if you add the days on market and you pull 175 plus or 250 plus, you will see the properties that have been on a long time. And you actually want to preview those properties while you're on the market. You want to call the agent and say, hey, I just want to preview this property. You don't have to be there. You can tell the client they don't even have to leave. They don't have to clean up. I don't want to disrupt their day. I'm just going to do a quick preview. Is that possible? Then you preview the property so you see it. So if it does expire, you know it. It also helps you to know the inventory. If you're working that farm, and this is when you're working in your area, and then you go and you leave a card. And you leave a card on the kitchen table so that they see your face. And when it does expire and you call, if it does expire, you call them, they'll recognize you and you can say, oh yes, I did see your property. Well, why didn't you sell it? I didn't have a buyer then, but why didn't anybody else have a buyer? Was it marketed properly? And I'd really love to talk to you about how I would market it, especially after seeing it. There's things that I think you should really do in your marketing strategy. So this is the only proactive way really to go after expireds, because we're not allowed to call them, but we should know the inventory before they come on. And again, you're not going to be running around, but if you focus on your niche and the areas that you want to, or even if it's a niche, you're doing waterfront, or if you're doing first-time home buyers, you could even say, well, this is perfect for my first-time home buyers, and I really want to, I saw it in the preview and I want to let you know that I'm working with first-time home buyers and yours perfectly fits the profile. And I'm wondering if you want to chat about why your property didn't sell. So
That's genius.
thank you. So, and the other thing is with mailers. So let's say you have expireds in your area, you can send out mailers to properties. Let's say something, well, this is more like you can send out mailers to expireds once they expire, but you want to be, to Mariano's point, sending out mailers in your sphere of the people. That's how you're proactive. So when you do call them in your sphere, they'll recognize you because they got your mailers. So that's a proactive way for them to be familiar with you before they get it. And again, don't forget to leave your card. And if they do ask you, because sometimes they will if they're home, just remember, if it's a proactive already listed with someone, you can never say a price opinion or what you would do differently. You can't. You can get caught in. So just be very, very careful if you're talking to homeowners that are listed, saying, listen, I am not allowed to share my opinions with you. I don't want to overstep and not only step on the agent's toes, but it's interfering with agency, which is really unethical and unethical. But if anything changes, I would love to share my feelings with you. Never, oh, but if you get out of it, or if you cancel it, or if anything changes, I would love to share how I feel about your property and some of the ideas I have. But for now, if I find a buyer, I will definitely show your property. It's an amazing property, and I'll talk about it with my team. But again, if anything changes, I'll share with you or whatever. So do you understand the difference? You guys understand the difference. You cannot sell yourself when you're being proactive. You can just preview it, show enthusiasm, and create a relationship.
Thank
Okay.
you. Denise, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Julie, so much for explaining that. I just wanted to get a little more information when you said about previewing properties that have been on the market for a longer time. Is that properties that still have like an agent connected to them, or?
Yeah, they're active. So they're still active. So you can pull up active listings and
Mhm.
pull up days on market. And I can show you how to do that. you can add criteria at the bottom so it pops up all the time. So at the bottom of the fields, you can put in things that you use frequently, and I have days on market on the bottom. And I'll
Okay.
start with high and I'll pull up, there won't be that many in this market because it's crazy fast. So if something is on for a long time, they're frustrated. So
Yeah.
you pull those up and you just preview them. You call the agent and and you want to preview it anyway. And you've got to tell your brain, this is really good for me to know this information. And with something on this long, I might have a buyer who's not quite in this price point, but I can explain to them. It makes you a better. Keep it. Everything we do teaches our brain and helps us communicate later. Because what I would do is, oh, I saw this property to a buyer because I previewed it. Even if I didn't get the listing, it taught me something. So I would call any buyers I have that's in that price point or a little bit lower price point and say, hey, I know we didn't see this one, but it's been on for 275 days, which means they're probably getting a little more negotiable. So maybe we should put it in, even though it's a little above your criteria. They're going to see that you're thinking outside of the box, that you're bringing value, that you're not just sending them listings on your homework. So every time you go for an expired, it'll trickle down into bringing value into your salesmanship as a whole. So again, don't get discouraged if you're previewing properties and nothing's coming of it, because you're teaching yourself about the market and you're bringing value.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect.
Awesome. Everybody feel good about this? Covering our 4 scenarios. Any questions? Anything you guys want to go over before we move on? Once, twice sold. All right. So the plan. To successfully go after expireds, you need a follow-up plan. One voicemail will not get you in front of most sellers. You need to have multiple touches, just like everything else. How timely for last week's meeting. So first thing you want to do, you want to set a task in Follow Boss. Set a task to call again, maybe 1 week after you've done the following, which I don't like the one. I don't really like the 1 week. I would call sooner than that, especially if you don't get them on the line and they're a new expired. I would call maybe the next day. You want to really be building up your list and you want to be following up with these people consistently, right? That's what's important here, being consistent. So you want to send a card, send something in the mail, a mini marketing packet, handwritten note, anything to make them think of you. So I would call. If you don't get them on the phone and you left a voicemail, then I would send a handwritten note. If you call, you get them on the phone, maybe it went well, maybe it didn't go well, I would still send the card anyway, because it's another touch. Send a bomb. Send a bomb if you can. Find a valid email address in Spokeo or HomeSnap. And then I don't think to click here, the hyperlink's not there. But after you call, you left a voicemail, send your bomb as a follow-up. Or after you call and you talk to them and you're sending your card and you're sending your bomb. These are all layered approaches, right? This is not just pick one and do it. It's pick all of them and do all of them, because this is what best practice is. You need to stay on top of them. You need to stay top of mind. You need to be seeing a consistent follow-up plan so that conversion is there. How many times have we talked about that? When you guys, Colleen and Floria recently went to a marketing presentation, they showed up with all of our brochures and they said that they did the follow-up beforehand. And the guy, literally, as they were sitting at the table, he was like, let me just say how you guys showed up more prepared than anybody else that I've met with. You have all your marketing brochures. Not only do you have them all, but they look good. That you followed up with me, that I have your information, that I know who you are. So many people don't do that. So if you do these things, you're going to see the results from it. Send your share card. If you still have a share card, now a lot of you use the share cards through your iPhone that you can send. Make sure that they have your contact information. So if you got them on the phone, you sent your voicemail, or you got them on the line and you know it's not their landline, but you could text that number, I would send your information too by text, right? So they have you saved in their phone. It's an easy way to save you in their phone. Keep all your communication attempts in Follow Up Boss. If it's not in Follow Up Boss, it didn't happen. Create a smart list to help you keep track of when you need to touch base. So this is about logging, right? If you're really diving into this, and because if you're really diving into this, you're not calling 3 expires, right? You're calling 50, you're calling 60, like you're calling a large amount of people. So you need to be keeping them in Follow Up Boss so you can stay organized as to who you've reached out to, what have you talked about, how did the conversation go, what have you sent them so far, what do you need to still send them, and all of those things as a part of this follow-up can be created as a task that you set. So the next day when you want to send a card, create a task for that. When you need to send your bomb tom, not sure.
Guys, we're officially changing the name. Bomb
It's now Bomb Tom. You're gonna bomb Tom. No, we're not bombing anybody, YouTube. Send your bomb, but you're gonna set a task for that too. So you have it there and you can check it off and it's gonna make you feel that much more accomplished. And your action plan. We've created an action plan that you can start once you've made the initial call. It will set tasks to remind you to send emails, make follow-up, and send cards. So that is all already saved in Follow Up Boss. And if you want to utilize it, please let me know and I will be happy to show you how to access that and get it rolling. So this is.
Sorry, I just want to say, I would, don't put them into Follow Up Boss until you've actually either left a message or, you know that their contact is correct. You don't want to put every expired into Follow Up Boss because you'll go crazy and you'll stop doing it. You just want to put the ones that you've connected with or even just left a voicemail. That's when you left a voicemail and you set a task. Otherwise you'll forget and you won't do any follow-up. So once you send a voicemail, you send the card, you do everything that you're supposed to do, but you'll get frustrated if you put every single expired that you have before you even try to call them because the phone number might not even work. So just keep in touch, keep in mind. And if you can't get the phone number, I wouldn't even put them in until you get the phone number, okay?
Absolutely, I completely agree. The last thing you want is just random, useless contacts in your Follow Up Boss because it's going to clutter everything and it's going to make it more difficult for you to find the people who are actually worth following up with. If you left them a phone number, a voicemail, and you know that the phone number is at least usable and can be accurate based on their voice message, their recorded voice message, definitely at that time add them into Follow Up Boss.
And the other thing that we forgot that we'll put into the presentation is door knocking. So if you can't find the phone number, the other thing you can do is knock on the door. And we can talk about strategy with that. And maybe I'd love to do a round table with people that are actually very, very committed to expireds and go through, procedures of this kind of thing, the plan, and dive deep into it for those people that really, really want to dive into expireds.
Absolutely. All right, everybody feels good about the plan before we move forward?
Yep.
All righty. To follow up like a boss, they must be in Follow Up Boss. So like we said, input into Follow Up Boss after deciding to pursue this expired and collecting all of their contact information that you can find. Tag with seller and expired and the town they live in. So the tags are super important, right? You want to do tag, you want to tag with seller, expired, and the town that they live in. You can even add their price range because that can work for you when you're looking for buyers. Add the expired action plan to kickstart your follow-up plan. Track all your communications so you know where you left off. If you are actively using expireds as a tactic and have reached out to a lot of potential sellers, this way, then you should be using the expired smart list. So on Follow Up Boss, there is the expired smart list section. Again, if anybody wants access or if it's not there and you would like help creating that, I can definitely help you with that as well. But this is kind of like, this is the not the last step, but about your organization, because that's something that's really important. Making sure that you know who you're actually following up with and who's worth doing that. So this is the way that you can get started on that. think that is everything for today. Oh, no. Follow-up boss stage discussion. So what are the current, this is kind of a recap, right? And a reconnection to when you're putting everybody into follow-up boss and you have these expired, where they should be going. So you have your stages. What are our current stages? So we have lead, attempted contact, A, hot prospect, B, warm lead, C, long-term nurture, cold, active client. So lead is somebody that you have not reached out to at all, right? And like we mentioned earlier, none of your expired should be going in under a lead stage, because when they go into follow boss, you should have already attempted contact. So if you let them a voicemail, the number was correct, then you would put them into follow boss under attempted contact if you did not hear from them, if you did not hear back from them. A hot prospect means that you're setting a marketing presentation with them, or for whatever reason, maybe you're scheduling a showing with them, they're ended up being a buyer. B, warm lead means that they are ready to transact within the next 6 months. C, long-term nurture means that they are ready to transact in 6 months plus. Cold means that you shouldn't really be putting, when you're inputting them into follow boss, none of them should be going into cold. Cold means that they unsubscribe, they have a realtor. They're not really going to be somebody that you're following up with. So cold expired going into follow boss should not be the case. If anything, maybe they become cold over time, which is fine. That's completely reasonable. That can happen. But you don't want to put any cold expireds into follow boss. Active client means that congratulations, you have a new client on your hands. And then client means that you have sold them. So that again is going to be over time, right? You want to, so yeah, that's pretty much what we want to go over for this one. Does that feel okay? That's basically just a recap of our current stages.
Yes.
Thumbs up. All right, feeling good. Thank you. And that is everything for today. That was a very abrupt ending. But before we actually end, does anybody have any questions that they want to go over about expired strategy, the scenarios? This is kind of like an intro to get you started in how to start these conversations. And then again, next quarter, I have an idea about script. Oh yeah. About scripting and really utilizing that on our day-to-day or weekly kind of schedules. Because I think that scripting is such an invaluable way to increase your skill set. Jacqueline, I see you have your hand raised.
Hi, yeah. I was speaking with a potential buyer and seller yesterday, one of my neighbors, and I think this is probably quite common. They want to move, but they're locked into a really great interest rate, so they're staying. So I was wondering what we could have as an objection handle for that, or if it's just I went with, I totally understand, that's really common, I get it, and went with the cultivating with a relationship. I wondered if anyone had better advice than that, please.
So
Okay.
It's a great question, and one that takes longer than a couple minutes, but it is one of the most common issues right now. And even with expireds, people are saying, well, I don't want to give up my rate. And really draw out of them what, and we can do a round table on this too, because what is their it depends, the story you tell depends on if they're downsizing, if they're upgrading. But saying, I absolutely understand. In fact, and I personally say, in fact, I was in the same position. I had under 3% mortgage that I just gave up, and it was really hard to do. But when I look at, and this is if they're downsizing, when I look at the cost of living, it's actually costing me more from the cost of heating, the cost, when you look at the entire picture, and I'd love to analyze that with you. Because after I did it, it was like, wow, I realized how I'm holding on to something for the wrong reasons. And particularly, like, are you making a lifestyle change? Because time is valuable, and being into your next. So it's a question I think that we should absolutely discuss in more detail for both expireds and for just general public right now. And the interest rates are not going down anytime soon. And we'll talk about, you know, marry the rate, not, or date the rate, not the whatever, marry the house. All those kinds of things that sound cliche, and we can turn them into just a more conversational. But definitely validating their feelings like you did, I totally understand. But tell me, what was your reason for moving? And then get into that. And then if you don't know how to respond, say, you know, let me think about that, because we're always looking for new solutions for our clients. And you have such a valid point. And if they're upgrading, they're changing everything. And if they're downsizing, they'll say, well, I'm gonna pay the same exact thing to live in a smaller house. But not really when you look at the whole pictures between taxes and cost of living and all of that.
Yeah, taxes is a good one. And then that's when we can say, there's 35 of us, we'll have a round table and talk about that because it's so common.
Yeah. And let's actually do it, because it is a common one. So thanks for bringing it up. And what we have, like, I have scripts for, you know, I believe in scripts, but I also have to think you have to be careful with it sounding like you're reading a script. You have to make your script your conversation. But we have scripts for each one of these. And for those people very interested, again, I really want to get together and do it together and role play, so that it will roll off your tongue, instead of like if you do it a few times with us, then you'll feel more confident doing it out there with them. Because the scripts part is because now you do this and now it's like, okay, what do I say? So we have scripts that we're gonna update, but I would love to have a follow-up on this one.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anybody else have any questions that you guys want to go over from today? Closing remarks?
Who's going out there and getting some information? You're gonna pull your expireds and get all the numbers.
Me.
I will.
I will.
Did you know that on this thanks, do you see next to Kelsey?
She's saying. Anyway, we're gonna have to stop sharing now.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right, thank you all for your
Day.
time today. Have a great day. Let us know if you have any other questions. As always, this will be sent out, so you guys will have the 4 scenarios with you while you're getting started on your expired searches and how to have these intro conversations. And we are always here to help. Everyone have a great weekend, and thank you for coming.
I love everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Strawberry Moon.
Thanks, Marielle. Really good.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
You're never gonna like that.
Oh, no.